So I'm working on this piece. I accidentally pushed the wrong button. I'm using a marker now to go through and work on my shadows. This piece is something that I picked up from the dollar store, and I'm repurposing it. It actually had holes in it, which I covered with whiteout. So, I think from this side I want to bring an area of decoration into here. Actually messed that up. It's getting a little closer to where I want it to be. I need a darker gray. But I don't want it to, I don't want it as a green gray. I want it as a blue gray. So I'm going to be using I'm not watching what I'm doing. No. Knock it off. Cállate. So I'm losing a lot of my background back here. So I will have to fix this with more shadows and highlights. Knock it off. Stop. My cats don't really get along. I'll have to figure out how to fix that later. I'm not giving up. So I'm losing, again, slopes and what have you, but I still have paint and everything else I can go back to and get a more defined line. So it's looking a little bit messy, but that's fine with me because I can still fix it when I go back over with paint. Right now I'm just trying to get a blur of highs and lows, shadows and highlights. And because I'm weird, I'm going to switch to top and start making sure that this, see how this is broken? Yeah, it is exactly. I would like to figure out something different to do with this other than make it just simply green. So I'm gonna start with a really just bright green. And it's not gonna show up oil white, and I understand that because I need to grab piece of cloth to put over top of this. But it'll all be painted anyway, so it's not gonna matter too much. I'm just laying foundation work. So since I have this decoration here, I'm going I'll actually have to wait for that because that's the other room. So now that I have this outlined, at least a general idea of where I want it to go, I'm gonna need to replicate that color up there, down here somewhere, so that it's not just apparent here. I'm just gonna... I didn't realize that was right there. So that grain's going to need to come back down here. And just slightly down in here. So to solve this problem, I'm going to take in some, it's just what you put on your yard. I'm going to cut that pieces to place back over top. So this is where I'm at now, and I'm trying to get it to adhere, but also to remain fabric and not split apart because these are starting to fray. Lately, everything has been pretty chaotic and stressful, and I don't really have a lot that I feel is, well, I mean, things are going better in my personal life, but the biggest thing is I have a lot of challenges that I have to face in my life, and I really hold myself really too accountable for basically everything that I ever say that I will do or am gonna do or want to do, and it's part of having schizoaffective disorder. It's an umbrella term, basically, and I obsess a lot. And then I hold myself too accountable when I don't get things done, and then I get really hyper, and then I get really sad. And one of the biggest things that I found that helps is finding something that I stay motivated in, or excited about, or happy about, and just following through with what's that idea. Or so I've been focusing a lot on cleaning, and I've been focusing a lot on just trying to be more centered because I am honestly going through a lot. And one of the things that's helping is I'm going to a concert on October 4th with Five Finger Death Punch, The Who, and Megadeth. And I'm a actual patron of The Who, which is pretty phenomenal for me because they've been my favorite band for a long time. I'm really excited to go. This piece will be given. And I mean, if I like it when I'm done, because I'm pretty picky about everything I do. And the other things that I've been going on, in my personal life, is I've just been cleaning basically, and trying to get my house cleaned and stuff ready for a garage sale. And it's kind of complicated because there's 6 bedrooms upstairs, and I keep dragging everything across the house, back down through the house, and then having to clean up everything that I drug back over and down again, and it's all very... Haven't gotten to the attic yet. The house is 3 stories. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The basement, it's a full basement, downstairs, upstairs, and attic, and it's all the same length, basically. So, when I bought the house, there was a sink in every room in the upstairs. There's 6 bedrooms upstairs. And there's a washer and dryer hookup upstairs. And I don't know how you would ever get a washer and dryer up those stairs because it's pretty narrow. One of the cool features of the house is that it has a Harry Potter cupboard that I want to turn into a reading nook. That would be pretty cool to do. I'm gonna let that dry and work on my next missing section, which is now in here. That is way too long. Let's move over to here. That is too short. That'll probably work. So, eventually, my house will be for sale, and I'll have everything cleaned out, and my car running. Ooh, that is such a bad idea. No. Just gotta go over here. I'm gonna pause this. It's difficult to do one-handed. So this is where I'm at now, and I want this to stick a little bit better so it doesn't fray. It's pulling apart. I'm using whiteout because it has more of a texture of cloth than it does if I were to tape it or use glue, basically. And then I can go back over and sand this flat and use a razor blade to get rid of the fray. So it might just be because I'm poor. The expensive markers that I got were actually a very generous gift by Patrick, which I'm grateful for because I would never be able to afford these markers on my own. Other than that, everything I use is basically just stuff I get from the dollar store. So when I do get something expensive, I try my best to take care of it because it's stuff that I would never been able to afford on my own. some of the other things that I have coming up is actually homeschool, and I need to send a report back to my district school. And I think what I'm going to do is I will put an entire, like, all of the questions and answers that he will have to be able to acknowledge up on YouTube in just readouts, because I do like helping other people. A lot of it will be skipped, though, just because he was advanced in a lot of areas, math specifically, computer technology definitely. So it's not going to be an entire syllabus, but it will be. I wanted to teach free of charge as long as I was able to, considering my mental health. It's not like I went to school for any degree or anything. I tried to. Mental health, and I can't function within given time frames is my biggest weakness. I did take, there's a type of behavioral therapy that you can take that helps you become more introduced into your environment and your atmosphere. But it was actually working too well on me. I became too numb to my environment, and when I was going through this type of therapy, they have you become more aware of like sights, sounds, stuff like that, and it increased my anxiety drastically because I wasn't used to being that aware of my surroundings. So like if, I don't know, say for example, the wind blew my curtain over, it was causing me to jump really bad, and I was a lot less stable. And I was starting to, it's called depersonalization and derealization, when you basically blank out what is happening around you and get like kind of like an out-of-body experience. Your brain basically shuts off and goes on autopilot. And it's actually kind of common. If you've ever driven and then you've been driving for a while and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, did I miss my turn? Where am I? And then like it's kind of like your brain goes on autopilot. That's basically what it is, except I was doing that in times where it was like this morning when I went to go do no, it was last night. My son and I went out in the woods, and we spilled soda, and I went to go throw the clothes in the dryer and start another load. But what I actually did was I threw the clothes in the dryer and then threw in laundry detergent. So I walked away and then had to like walk back. It's kind of like if you ever go into the kitchen and like forget what you're going in for, or like look in the fridge 17 times for food and there's nothing ever in there. It's kind of the same thing. I just do it a lot. But it's also, I sleepwalk a lot. It's just my brain just kind of goes into dirt mode, and so art helps. It's very therapeutic for me. Music definitely helps. But I was pretty upset with myself when I threw the clothes in the dryer and then instantly threw soap in there, so I had to rewash them, and then yeah. Kind of felt like pretty silly. So this is starting to get a little bit better. I'm gonna go ahead and scrape off my edges here and find out where they're fraying so that I can go back over them. So now that I got this, I'm just going to take an old razor. That's not going to work. I'm going to take... one moment. So I'm going to try to do this as best as I can with the tools that I have. What I'm trying to do is get rid of these pills. Without scratching. Or destroying the fabric. That'll have to be pulled up. I don't want there to be these frayed pieces. So I'll go back over that. Just slide out. Go over here. But for now, I'm gonna let it dry until I can get, well, until I actually have light in my room and can see where I left my X-Acto knife. So I'm gonna bring it back down to down here to continue where I left off. I'm gonna be picking a deeper gray this time. No. It would actually probably smart if I used... Hey! Come in the house, Goofy. Door is open. Come in. It is open. Specifically so that you can come in. One moment. So while I continue to draw, as I mentioned before, I have schizoaffective disorder, and I have a lot of like unique and interesting stories from being a schizophrenic, and some of them are sad, but some of them are just uniquely mine. When I was little, my best friend was a tree growing up. I would sit on its, like, the stump, and it would talk to me. I was a really lonely kid. It would talk to me about the stars and how birds give it seeds, and I would pick moss out of its trunk so that it would be healthier, and I would water it every day and take care of it every day, and I would sit out there for hours and just kind of talk to it. And later I found out this is actually a religion that is practiced mainly in Korea, which I didn't find out till later, but that was my best friend growing up for a while, until one of my neighbors actually had a dog, and this dog could climb trees, but it only responded to phrases in German, which at the time I didn't speak German, but the dog could climb trees and like would play fetch with me. So for a while it was this dog, my neighbor's dog, and me, and the tree. And then when I moved to my grandmother's house, my best friend, I had a beagle. His name was Blue, and he was my best friend. And then I had another friend. Her name is Megan, and I lived with my nanny. My nanny is my grandmother. Her and I have the same birthday. She's in heaven, but she loved swans, and when I was little, wanted to grow up and be a duck. And then I found out you can't do that. So then I decided that I wanted to be an alien princess. And then I found out you can't do that either. So for a while there, I was pretty obsessed with Michelle Kwan, who was in the Olympics. But I didn't know how to ice skate. And actually, I've only been ice skating once, and I'm terrible at it. Very terrible. I can rollerblade and roller skate, but ice skating is completely out of my ability to actually do. So my senior year, when you had to write your response on what you actually wanted to be when you grow up, I wrote about being a mom. And my English teacher, Mrs. Mesker, decided that that was not a appropriate response and wanted me to redo my essay, and I didn't. Being a mother is honestly the best thing that I've ever done with my life, because it's the most rewarding. When I lived in New York, they had a golf course that was like I don't know, 3 miles up the road, and I would walk up there, and they had like goose and swans and stuff up there, and they get really aggressive. And my nanny had a really big backyard that was completely like in the woods, and there was actually a lot of Iroquois huts, and we would go exploring, and we actually found some spearheads, arrowheads, and huts that were, I mean, ancient. But I spent a lot of time in the woods growing up. I spent a lot of time in the mountains and in the outdoors out. And then he had a creek. I don't know if it's supposed to be creek or crick. But we would go there, and me and my cousins and I would go hang out in the creek. And I miss New York, but everything up there is really expensive, and I'm poor. But she lives in the mountains, and now I live in the grass fields of Ohio. And it's kind of, I like the scenery down here. I miss the mountains. The weather down here is way different than what I'm used to. And I haven't traveled very much. I've been to Chicago. I went to Florida for my senior class trip, which I got to see the Fast and the Furious cars, which was pretty cool. I did live in Goose Creek, South Carolina on a military base for a while with a friend as a guest. And I've been to Vegas to play Magic the Gathering at a competition. But other than that, in New York, I haven't traveled. Some of the places I would like to go are Mongolia. I would like to go to New Zealand. I would like to go to Australia. I actually want one of those Australian fruit bats. Those really big, gigantic. I would like one of them as a pet. That would be pretty cool. I want to go to New Zealand because Chris Sabat, who voices Vegeta and Piccolo, and the captain of the Black Bulls, and among other things, he does a lot of work. He's a great voice actor. I had a crush on him for a really long time, and before I knew really any better, I found his email address online when I was like, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, 17, something like that. And I emailed him and asked him to marry me, which is super embarrassing, but I didn't know any better. But I actually like Vegeta's boss. It's my other favorite superheroes, Deadpool, Spider-Man. I like Darth Maul, Toad from X-Men, which is Ray Park, who also played Darth Maul. I like Asta from Black Cobra as well. I would also like to go to Japan and China, just because a lot of my favorite things come from there. I'd like to go to Thailand. My windows are open. I think Australia would be an interesting place to live. I'd like to visit Chile. Them guys are, they're crazy. Está muy gentes. Gentes son Chiapas, Mexico. And I say mi gentes because I used to supervise for a sanitation department. And I don't know if you're a returning or new viewer, but I used to be sanitation supervisor on a night shift in the cookie factory in Macomb. And all of my workers were Basically, only Spanish speakers. I mean, some of them spoke some English, but most of them only spoke Spanish. And they were all from Chiapas, Mexico. And we had a lot of fun working. We worked, well, I worked swing shifts, so on Wednesday I would start work at night and then switch work to the morning Sundays. And then I would work all day Sunday, and then I would work all day on Wednesday at night. Like switch from days to nights. So it's a little bit why my sleep schedule's always messed up. But we would have a lot of fun working because, like, we were cleaners. We cleaned for a factory that does like Chips Ahoy, Nabisco, stuff like that. And like we would, on the weekends especially, we would, like when we were cleaning, they're called baggers, which is where you put like the cookies and stuff in. We would sing super loud, and we would sing corn songs and some some real gangster songs from the cartels down in Mexico. And we would just, kind of chill out, but work at the same time. And I miss working with them. They were great workers. I really miss my crew. They were good people, good friends. We would go, and they invited me to, they play soccer, which I was really honored to go because I didn't know they considered me like a friend until they like, invited me to go to their soccer games. So I got to watch them play, and then we started all hanging out and after work, and like once or twice on the weekends, or like once every other week or whatever. But we would work 50, 60, 70 hours a week nonstop. It was excellent pay. Now that I'm getting more of a darker detailed, I'm going to go back over this after I outline this one more time. And without breaking it. I'll go over it with black. But I'm also going to lighten it up. my son. Love you, buddy.
Love it.
I'm blessed with really good kids. They're really thoughtful and considerate. A funny story, okay? I don't eat with with a fork or with a spoon. I only eat with forks. And my son's grandma was not feeling well and asked him to bring her soup. And he did, but he brought it with a fork out of habit. And she was like, why did you give me a fork, like, with its soup? And he was just like, 'cause Mom. And she started laughing, and they were, having a go at me, but it's funny because, like, who eats soup with a fork besides me? And, like, he'll call me out. Like, I'm lactose intolerant, and I know better than to try to eat ice cream or drink milk, but this one time we went to their art show, and I grabbed the chocolate milk. And he's like, Mom, you can't have that, you're gonna get sick. I was like, shut up, Marcus, you don't know me. And he's like, okay. And I drank it, and then, like, 20 minutes later, I was like, Bud, I gotta go home. He's like, I told you. And I was just like, and then a year passes, okay? A whole year. I didn't say anything to him about it, but we go to the other art show thing, and I grabbed coffee. And he just looks at me with a smile, and he's like, I see you grabbed coffee this time. I was just like, how are you gonna call me out, dude? Like, in front of everybody. And, like, he's in sports and stuff, and when I would go, people would confuse me and my daughter, and then sometimes he gets confused, like, people confuse, or his friends confuse us, like, it's just, now they're all taller than me, so it's not so much of a problem anymore, but for a while, like, I went to his school before, and I've had teachers ask me who my teacher was. And I'm like, no, I'm here for my kids. And then, like, it doesn't help either that in his fourth grade and her sixth grade, there was already people, like, the majority of everybody in their classes were taller than me. Like, all their friends and everybody was just taller than me on default. And it makes me laugh because what am I supposed to do about it? They're all taller than me. Okay, I'm gonna go through it with a highlighter to try to lighten this up a bit. My kids are so, they're goofy and funny. Make me laugh. So this is where we're at now, which is getting more defined, a little bit messy, but I still have time to go through it. I'm going to end the video here because it's an hour long. If you like my content, please subscribe, and I will be back.